The NHL recently revealed their three finalists for the Selke Trophy. Nico Hischier was not one of those finalists. Was he snubbed? And also, let's analyze his season. We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Scott Hockey Play Announcer, Devils Wire Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time Credential Media member, Trey Matthews. As you all know, I had the chance to attend exit interviews and talk with a lot of Devils players. Unfortunately, the Hughes brothers and Brian Dumoulin did not conduct an exit interview, but that's not the end of the world. Still got a lot of great insight from certain players. So throughout the course of the offseason, I will pick a particular player, analyze their season, give my thoughts as to how they can improve come next season. And I will also play their respective exit interviews throughout the course of the episode. Had the chance to ask some players questions myself. In today's episode, we're going to focus on team captain Nico Hischier. Why not? Kick it off with the leader of the team. Worth mentioning that Nico Hischier is representing Team Switzerland in Worlds alongside Timo Meier and Jonas Siegenthaler. Hischier is also the captain for Team Switzerland. He actually talked about the possibility of Switzerland being included in a future Four Nations tournament. He said, unfortunately, Switzerland doesn't have enough NHL players to field the team, but I'm sure there's ways to work around it. But digressing a little bit, wishing Hischier, Meier, and Siegenthaler the very best. But let's focus on Hischier and his incredible season with the Devils. In the first segment, we're going to talk about something controversial because the finalists were recently revealed for the Selke Trophy, and Nico Hischier was not named a finalist, even though it was widely anticipated that he would be one of the three finalists. I will give my thoughts on the matter, and we will also hear from Nico because I asked him about possibly being a finalist again or maybe winning the award sometime in the future. Then in the second segment, I will just give my general thoughts on Hischier. Selke Trophy aside, he still had a good year, and that should not be taken away from him. And then in the third and final segment, a lot of people say that Hischier is just not a good leader because he's not really a polarizing player. He's not the type of player to get in your face or talk trash to you, things like that. He's more of a lead by example type of player. In the Amazon Prime documentary, we saw a lot of notable leaders yell and get in their team's face in order to motivate them. Some names that come to mind are Connor McDavid when his team went down 3-0, or Matthew Tkachuk. Obviously, Matthew Tkachuk, you love to have him on your team, but when you're playing against him, you probably don't like him all that much. Nico's not really that type of player, and we're going to talk more about that in the third segment. It's something I've talked about before, but I feel as though I need to bring it up once again. Okay, here are the finalists for the Selke Trophy. Sasha Barkov, he won it last year. He's trying to defend his title. His teammate Sam Reinhart, we're going to talk about that a little later in this segment because you don't usually see teammates be named finalists for a particular award. And then Anthony Cirelli of the Lightning. Looks like the committee was favoring the Sunshine State and not the Garden State because Hischier was left off the list. And a lot of people, a part of the Devils discourse, Devils media, including myself, we let our opinions be heard. I saw Amanda Stein put something out. Bill Spalding also expressed his displeasure. Reporters James Nichols and Christy Flannery, they informed everyone that they did name Nico a finalist in their respective ballots. And Christy even said that she put Nico Hischier's name in the running for the Hart Trophy, not just the Selke Trophy. Nico just surprisingly wasn't named a finalist. And when looking at the betting lines on FanDuel, Hischier had the third best odds of winning the Selke. In front of him were Reinhart and Barkov, but I was certain that Hischier would at least be named a finalist. I didn't expect for him to win, but it's just like, that's surprising. Let's look at his stats. He appeared in 75 games for the Devils this season. He had 35 goals that led the team, 34 assists, fourth on the team, 69 points. 69 is a funny number. Third on the team, 21 even strength goals, first on the team, 14 power play goals, first on the team, 15 power play assists, fourth on the team. You want to know how many faceoffs he took in total? 1,777. Obviously, that was first on the team. He had a faceoff percentage of 55.5%, first on the team. 60 blocks, second among forwards. Timo Meier finished ahead of him. 24 takeaways, second among forwards. Andre Palat was ahead of him. A 6.2 offensive point share rating, second on the team. A 2.5 defensive point share rating. He led all forwards on the team. Giving him a point share rating of 8.7, Jesper Bratt was ahead of him. Expected goals for rating, 54.3, fifth on the team. So you're just left wondering, why was Hischier not named a finalist? I can understand Barkov. He's a two-time winner, won it last season. Even if his numbers are similar to Hischier, I'm not really going to complain all that much. Sam Reinhart, he had another good year with the Panthers. He led the team in points, but I'm confused. Why was Anthony Cirelli named a finalist over Hischier? Because I would argue and say that Hischier had better numbers. I'm just looking at the stats right now. It's not like Cirelli dominated Hischier in any particular category. Either Hischier has beat him in a certain category, like Hischier finished with more points. Cirelli had 59 points. Hischier had 69. They both took a decent amount of faceoffs, and Hischier had a better offensive point share rating. So I was just a little confused as to why Cirelli was named a finalist over Hischier. My educated guess is that maybe the Lightning, since they were a better team, they got more attention than the Devils because, let's face it, the Devils are a small market team. The Lightning and Panthers, they have won a Stanley Cup within the last few years. Both of them have. I'm also a little puzzled why Reinhart and Barkov were both named finalists. I'm okay if one of them were named a finalist, but the fact that both of them are teammates, I don't know how to really feel about that. I mean, both of them had good years, but shouldn't you really only pick one representative from a team if you're going to have only a few finalists? That's just my opinion. Like I said, you don't really see that in sports too often. And I think that was also talked about on social media. It's understandable to see why fans, media were upset and confused. And honestly, I do think Nico was snubbed. I think he definitely deserves some more recognition because, look, yes, the Devils did not have a good year. They were a mediocre team. They ranked 16th out of 32 teams, and they limped across the finish line in order to get to the playoffs. They were handled with somewhat ease by the Hurricanes. They still made it competitive, but they were heavily depleted. So it wasn't a matter if, it was just a matter of when would they get eliminated. But the thing is like, with everything that the Devils went through, Hischier really held everything together. When Hischier went down with his injury and he was sidelined for a few games, this was, I believe, shortly before the Four Nations tournament, Hischier's absence was felt because the Devils just weren't a completed team, if that makes sense. Like, Jack Hughes was still playing, but it's just like the Devils built their team around Nico, so he's like the anchor of it. I actually talked to Chico Resch about it. So one of the reasons why the Devils were still somewhat of a decent team, despite Jack Hughes going down with an injury, despite Dougie Hamilton going down with an injury. It's because they still had Nico Hischier. They still had their anchor in terms of offense, defense, and Sheldon Keefe even admitted he never gave Nico an easy shift. Nico was carrying a lot of the burden on his shoulders. So my thing is, like, I think Nico was in fact snubbed from being named a Selke finalist. I had the chance to ask Nico about the Selke. Would he like to win it someday? Does he care if he's a finalist or not? Here's what he had to tell me.
You've been a finalist before, but this season, have you had any thought of being a finalist again this year or possibly winning it someday?
I mean, me personally, not really. I'm here just playing for New Jersey, playing for the team, and I don't really. Obviously, it would be a huge honor for me, but like I'm not playing for that, so I don't really put too many thoughts into that.
I also do apologize for any buzzing you might hear throughout the course of these sound bites. It's not just Nico's soundbite, it's all of their sound bites, because we conducted exit interviews at the practice facility for some odd reason, and the lights make noise. So if you hear any buzzing or whatever the case might be, it's not an audio issue. It's just the fact that the lights in the practice rink make a lot of noise. I don't know why they conducted exit interviews in the practice facility hallways. They could have done it in the locker rooms like they've done in previous years, or the press room. I was a little confused. I did my best to edit the sound out, but if you hear it, that's the reason why. Look, it's not the end of the world, and obviously people will have their difference of opinions. If any Lightning or Panthers fans are listening to the show, I mean, no disrespect. I do think that both Reinhart and Barkov are really good players. In fact, Barkov is sort of carrying the torch after Patrice Bergeron retired. Sam Reinhart, still a really good player with the Panthers. He was one of the big reasons why they won the Stanley Cup last year. Sorelli, a good player. I just felt as though Nico was better, but that's just my personal opinion. I mean, no disrespect. But going back to what Nico said, it's not really the end of the world. And I would much rather Nico be hoisting up a Stanley Cup at some point than win the Selke Trophy. And I think that's what he's really focused on, which is how can this team get better? How can they become Stanley Cup contenders? So yeah, I do agree with Nico. It's not the end of the world. I don't think he's losing any sleep over it. In fact, he really can't, because he's playing right now with Team Switzerland. So he's got to focus on that. He's got to focus on just trying to finish good in Worlds and keep his game going. But my final verdict is that I absolutely believe that Nico deserved to be a finalist for the Selke based on his numbers on the Devils and based on how the season went for the Devils, because one of the reasons why the Devils did not crash and burn and that they still remained afloat was because of Nico. I would argue that he's the anchor, both offensively, defensively. Sheldon Keefe has talked heavily about it, saying that Nico was never given an easy shift and there was a lot of burden on his shoulders. All right. I'm going to evaluate Nico's season in general because he still had a good year, even if he's not a finalist for the Selke. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats. It keeps you feeling fuller all day long. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. I'm constantly in and out of the airport, so I love having a snack by my side. Get snackin and get crackin with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Okay, during exit interviews, I had the chance to ask Nico to personally evaluate his season, and also, did he set some goals for next season? Take a listen.
Sheldon Keefe talked about how he hasn't given you an easy shift and how you're doing a lot of things for this team on a personal level, how would you evaluate your season?
I mean, I think you can always be better, but I'm pretty happy about my year. I think it was exactly what I was trying to help my team. I had lots of opportunities doing that. I was taking a lot of D zone draws. He gave me a lot of responsibility, matching up against like big guys out there, and still creating some offense too. So I'm happy about my year. But obviously, I'm still going this summer and try to be like a better player next year.
What are some of your goals next year to take your game to even new heights?
I want to like redo whatever I'm doing. Give the team everything I got on both sides on the ice. Actually, goals I'm not setting myself, so I'm just trying to be the best version of me every day that I can be, and help my team in any way.
I think this should go without saying. Nico had a really good year with the Devils, and he's absolutely right. He doesn't really need to set too many goals because he's continually improving his game. Remember, it wasn't too long ago when people were saying that Nico was not a good selection at first overall for the Devils, but years later, the team is built around him, and I think they definitely have something in Nico. And I can't wait to see how much further he could take his game. He had a career high in goals this season. I don't think that's talked enough about. And I've talked about it throughout the past few years. Nico's job, he's not really looking to score himself. He's capable of scoring, and he alluded to it during the soundbite. He wants to set up his teammates. He wants to make sure that they're a priority over his scoring. And that goes to show you how unselfish he is, both as a player and as a leader. I think we all saw what Nico is capable of, whether it's scoring himself or setting up his teammates, because he had 35 goals, like I said, career high, and 34 assists. That's a pretty good balance if you ask me. So I think everyone saw what the Devils are like without Nico. And despite them dealing with a lot of injuries, they were still able to pull through and at least make it to the playoffs. And when I asked him what his favorite moment was from the season, he said getting back to the playoffs and seeing the atmosphere at the Prudential Center. Every time Nico Hischier's face is shown on the Jumbotron, everyone goes insane. It goes to show you the type of impact he has in New Jersey. And I'm really happy that he continues to improve and put a lot of the spotlight in New Jersey, if that makes sense. I think he, Jack, and Jesper have really formed something special, but I just really hope that the core can take it to the next level. Don't look now. Nico doesn't have much longer on his contract. I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm just saying, like, he's been on the Devils for quite some time. He has many years of experience in the NHL. I know he's young in terms of the average human age, but he has a lot of NHL experience under his belt, and you can no longer consider him like a young buck. He's a veteran player. Just some food for thought. I do want to mention this. I don't want anyone to be concerned. A lot can still happen. But Hischier only has 2 years remaining on his deal before he becomes a UFA. So the Devils don't have all the time in the world. They really got to make something out of this as soon as they possibly can. Like I said, nothing to be concerned. Nico hasn't talked about it. The media hasn't talked about it. I'm just stating a fact. Nico only has 2 years remaining on his contract, whether you want to believe it or not. All right, we're going to hear from Cody Glass about Nico's leadership, and I will provide my perspective on the matter. But before we continue, my colleague Ross over at Locked On Senators has a message to share from Bear Mattress.
An award-winning mattress can change your life. I speak from experience. It happened to me. After years of uncomfortable sleeps, I recently switched to Bear Mattress, and the results were instant. Bear Mattress is designed with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. I used to deal with night sweats, but Bear's best-in-class cooling ensures optimal temperature regulation, which prevents overheating and helps me stay comfortable all night long. Bear offers a wide variety of mattresses, but to get the right one for you, take their sleep quiz that matches you to your perfect mattress based on body type and sleep preferences. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
Okay, let's hear from Cody Glass about Nico Hischier's leadership. Take a listen.
Is he a talkative guy in the locker room? Like during the playoffs when the team was down, maybe trailing at one point, leading, can you recall or share with us something maybe he said or did that really sparked the team?
I think a big thing for Nico is, he leads by example. I think he leads on the ice with his play, but I think at the same time, he's a little bit more on the quiet end. But when he does speak up, you're like, I should probably let's go, get our stuff together, because that's just when emotions take over, it's a big deal. And so he's a heart and soul guy, and when you see him, grinding through it, that just makes you want to do it just as bad. So he's been unbelievable, and his time here is he's just a great human being. If you want to cheer for him, you want to be on his side.
Okay, this is nothing new. We all know that Nico is a lead by example type of player. Sheldon Keefe even said during his respective exit interview that he was really impressed with Nico's leadership and how much he means to the team. A lot of people are saying that Nico doesn't deserve to be the captain because he doesn't get into your face. He's not really a polarizing figure. Let me just make this clear. It's a small minority on social media that believe that, but obviously they're the loudest ones. And let me just say this. You don't have to be like an in-your-face type of leader. You don't have to be a jerk in order to lead. There are some athletes who do it, and there's some athletes who are like Nico. They lead by example, and it still works just as well. It depends on what your personality is like. And based on my interactions with Nico, he's a very respectable person. I don't think I've shared on this show, but when I was in Florida covering the team, this was during morning skate, go into the locker room. Nico sees me. He offers me a handshake, and I asked him, hey, can I do an interview with you real quick? And he promptly said yes, without any hesitation. He even asked me how I was doing. It's just the little things that mean so much to me. And Nico, it should just show you what type of person he is and how respectable he is among the media, the players, the coaching staff, you name it. I know I've talked about it in the past, but if you need any more reason as to why Nico is a good leader, just listen back to what Sheldon Keefe had to say. Listen back to what Cody Glass had to say. I even shared my personal small interaction with Nico. You don't need to be in your face type of player to lead. I think Nico does a good job, and the team is built around him. He's a great leader. That's just my opinion. And I know I talked about it last year during exit interviews, but I don't think any of the struggles that the Devils had this year, I don't think you could put any of the blame on Nico. In fact, I don't think you could put even a little bit of the blame on him. He did what he was supposed to do, similar to Sheldon Keefe. They worked with what they were being given. And I think Nico had a good performance during the playoffs. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know your opinions. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast streaming service. Hit me up on my personal X page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day in New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for listening once again.